I'm starting ALMOND today. Like I said in multiple videos, I have absolutely no idea what this book is about. I've only read this blurb, which says a tender exploration of adolescence. The only other thing that I know about it is that literally every single bookstagram bitch adores this book. Everybody loves this. The thing with that also is all these girls, they like sad books. So I don't know if this is gonna be a sad book. I've also seen it in the YA section. I've seen it in the fantasy section. I've seen it in the general fiction section. I have no idea what genre it is. I have no idea what the premise is. I have no idea what the subject is. I don't know anything about the storyline. I know nothing, but then I mean absolutely nothing about this book, which is the way that I wanted it to be, because I want it to be like a complete surprise. It can be more of a mystery than it is right now. So we're starting it, and I'm curious to see where this story is gonna lead me. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. Also, this hair, it's telling me I need to stop filming. Okay, so it starts off with notes. 3 notes. Alexithymia, the inability to identify and express one's feelings. And it says it's a mental disorder that was first described in the 1970s, but there's more studies on it, and this novel describes alexithymia based on all of these studies with the author's imagination. This author's imagination. Then P.J. Nolan is a fictional character. So it's about like, that's, you know, I get that. Goes pretty well together, but it's a mental disorder. It's also about dinosaurs, because it says the size is mentioned. The dinosaur size is mentioned. Just like with the last reading vlog, I am confused. I'm just trying to hide the absolute mess that my room/bed has become. Like, my entire closet is on my mattress right now. We're gonna ignore that. We're not gonna deal with it until another moment. I can't do that right now. What we are gonna do, let's talk about the first few chapters of this book. I got until chapter 5 last night, which is not that much. It's like, what page is it? Page 18. Because these chapters are really short, and I like that. I really like the short chapters. Also, it kind of makes sense what the notes were at the beginning, especially the thing about the alexithymia, so the inability to identify and express one's feelings. And at this point, we're still in the main character's childhood. I'm not sure like how old he's gonna grow in this novel, and he's not really struggling, but the people around him are struggling with the fact that he reacts very differently to the situations that he encounters than other people, than other children. And I think it's just an exploration, like the blurb here says it's an exploration of adolescence, and here it's already like an exploration of difference, of being different, and how that impacts your life, but also very much the lives of the people around you, which I think is really interesting. I'm not sure where it's gonna lead, but I can't wait to figure it out. I like it up until now. I really like the writing style too. It's translated from Korean, I saw, which is the first time that I've ever read anything Korean. It's new. I like it, but like, I haven't read enough yet to say more than this about it. But I like the premise of the story. I like how it begins. I like the chapters and how that's set up, basically. Also, I very much like the blank page, and that the chapter always starts on the right page. It's the small things this book does it right. So up until now, I really like it, but I don't know that much yet. So I don't know. I'm gonna be on a train in like half an hour, so I'm gonna read on the train, I think, and see how far I get, what the story is gonna give me. I'm excited. So I need to show you what it looks like. And then I also have my yoga mat like on the floor with shit on it. Like shoes are scattered all over the floor. You can see it in the mirror. Then my my closet is open, drawers are out. But this has never happened before. This literally has never happened before. What can I say? Oops. Also, I dyed my hair. I don't know like how well you can see it, but it's a lot blonder and I love it. I love it. Took almost 5 hours to do this and I'm already blonde. It's ridiculous, but it was worth it. I love it. Okay, I will get back to you with reading updates. I lied. I also want to say that I slept for a total of like 2 to 3 hours maybe last night, because I woke up at 3 and I don't know why, but I could not fall back asleep. It was so hot. There was a mosquito and I was just awake. I was just awake. I couldn't sleep anymore. I started watching YouTube videos. I've watched YouTube videos from, I guess, yeah, 3 to 6. I'm alive right now. I'm not sure how long that's gonna last. Now I'm done with the updates. Oh my god, this lighting. Okay, I literally just got home, but I was reading on the train and there was this one passage in a chapter and I need to talk about it. There was a passage about books in the book, and like any avid reader, I'm a sucker for that kind of shit and I want to read it to you. Was it this? Yes. So the main character, like I said, this guy has the alexithymia. He doesn't know how to feel, identify, and express emotions. And he also doesn't like it when it's shoved in his face how something is supposed to be interpreted. When there's no imagination needed anymore. And there's no freedom with like the creativity. How do you explain this? Like when there's no freedom in interpretation, I guess. That's the most clear I can be. But there's this thing, his mom has a used bookstore, so a secondhand bookstore, and he loves it there, or like as much as he can love it, because he doesn't know the feeling of love. He doesn't really know what it is. So it's chapter 14, it's like this far in, so it's not much of a spoiler, I guess. So he says, I also felt comfortable in our bookstore home. Other people might say they like it or even love it, but in my vocabulary, comfortable was the best scale. To be more specific, I felt connected to the smell of old books. The first time I smelled them, it was as if I'd encountered something I already knew. I would flip open the books and smell them whenever I could, while Granny nagged me, asking what the point of smelling musty books was. I get it. And I feel like every book lover gets this. The smell of books it's something. It is something. And then he continues, books took me places I could never go otherwise. They shared the confessions of people I'd never met and lives I'd never witnessed. The emotions I could never feel and the events I hadn't experienced could all be found in those volumes. They were completely different by nature from TV shows or movies. The worlds of movies, soap operas, or cartoons were already so meticulous that there were no blanks left for me to fill in. These stories on screen existed exactly as they had been filmed and drawn. For example, if a book had the description, a blonde lady sits cross-legged on a brown cushion in a hexagon-shaped house, a visual adaptation would have everything else decided as well, from her skin tone and expression to even the length of her fingernails. There was nothing left for me to change in that world. The books were different. They had lots of blanks. Blanks between worlds and even between lines. I could squeeze myself in there and sit or walk or scribble down my thoughts. It didn't matter if I had no idea what the words meant. Turning the pages was half the battle. And then, like, there's this quote. He says, I shall love thee. Even if I can never know whether my love would be a sin or poison or honey, I shall not stop this journey of loving thee. And then that doesn't have any meaning for him. Like, it doesn't give him any particular feeling. And he says, the words didn't speak to me at all, but it didn't matter. It was enough that my eyes moved along the words. I smelled the books, my eyes slowly tracing the shape and strokes of each letter. To me, that was as sacred as eating almonds. And that's a ritual that he already talked about, because it's the almonds that didn't grow, which is apparently why he doesn't have the ability to form and express emotions. I'm not gonna read anymore, but I just wanted to share like the book love in this book, because it's like a book lover reading a book where the main character is a book lover explaining why they love books so much. I mean, can it really get any better than that? I don't know. I wanted to share that. I'm loving this so far. Okay, so it's like 2 days later because I did not read a single thing yesterday. Well, no, I read like 4 pages. I read 4 pages yesterday, so I did not really have any impressions and I was busy, so I didn't read. And then this morning I read a lot, actually, and I'm still loving it. It is not, well, I didn't have any expectations, so it can't be, I don't know. I love it. I'm making no sense, but there were some passages in it that, oh, they're so good. Like with the books that I already read, that was so good. And then I finished part 2 this morning, and again, I really like books that are divided into 3 different acts, basically, and especially with this one, it's very clear like what the different storylines within each part, or like within each act, is. So it's more about his family in the first part, and then in the second part it's this one guy, or this one boy that he meets, and like his relationship to him, or like with him, and how that evolves. And now I haven't started part 3 yet, so I have no idea what that's going to be about, but I think it's going to be more about like him exploring and practicing emotions. But that's just my prediction, because that's kind of how part 2 ended. Like, he wants to learn. Okay, my camera battery died, so we're just continuing this on my phone, because otherwise I will not remember what I was talking about. What I wanted to say was, what I said at the beginning, like I've only seen, or like I'd only read the blurb on the cover saying it's a tender exploration of adolescence. To make it a little bit more specific, it's, oh my god, this hair. It's an exploration of emotions through the eyes of someone who doesn't understand them. And that structure, I don't know if that's the right word, is so interesting to me, and I feel like it works so well. And I have some, like, I had some quotes and I just closed the book, so I don't know what it, like, where it was. I think it's here, because his mom like tries to teach him like the right responses to like other people's emotions and like questions. Yeah, she tries to teach him the right responses to certain situations that he might find himself in, and like the most human and like the most regular and ordinary reactions that he could give. But like she has this lesson for him, and it's like she basically says that every situation only has one right answer. Then he says here, at the time I told my mom that the story contradicted her lesson, in which there was only one right answer for each situation, but I thought this kind of ending wasn't too bad. It seemed to me that there was more than one answer to everything. Maybe I didn't need to stick to a hard and fast rules of dialogue or behavior. Since everyone was different, my odd reactions could be normal to some people. And like he kind of wants to understand other people, and he wants to understand that. he just can't. But then he does realize these kinds of things, and it's like everybody's different, so everybody's reactions are different, and that makes it even harder for him to mirror or act out the things that he's supposed to do in different situations, because there is no one right answer. So I really like that. Also, my arm is starting to hurt. I'm gonna turn around. Let's see. There was also other things. There's like, it's basically like a math equation to him, what an emotion is, or like how it's supposed to be. Because at this point he says, if somebody was sad for my sadness, then I should be happy. The principle that two negatives made a positive, which, well, it is a principle that two negatives make a positive. And I guess that's true for like a lot of emotions as well, or like reactions, or like feelings towards other people. I just never thought about it like that. There's so many lines in this book that I read and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't thought about it like this, but yes, you're right. And this is such a unique description of the thing that you're talking about, but it's true. And I'm just so intrigued by this story. Let's see, what was something, there were some other things that I also really enjoyed. Oh yeah, like I said, there's a need for him to be ordinary, to be normal, and he doesn't care, but other people want him to fit in, and fitting in you do by being ordinary. But then here the premise is like ordinary, or being ordinary, is the hardest thing for someone to do, because there's always something that keeps you from being ordinary. And it's explained or explored here, saying like, mom wanted me to live a normal life. Sometimes I get confused what that actually means though. Maybe it means living an ordinary life. Ordinary, I mumbled, to be like the others, to be ordinary without having experienced terrible ordeals, to go to school, graduate, and if lucky, go to college and get an okay job and meet a woman I like and get married and have kids, things like that. But differently, to not stand out. So like the most basic way of life. And then this guy that he's talking to says, parents start out with grand expectations for their kids, but when things don't go as expected, they just want their kids to be ordinary, thinking it's simple. But son, being ordinary is the hardest thing to achieve. When I read this, especially the part of like parents start out with grand expectations for their kids, and then eventually one way or the other, for a lot of those parents, their kids end up kind of disappointing them because they're not special enough to be like the kind of special that makes them stand out in a good way. And then the other only kind of special that there is like standing out in a negative way, and they don't want that for their kids. So they just want to like put them in a little box and keep them as ordinary as possible, and like send them on their merry way of like living the life that is basically stippled out for every single person on earth. And it doesn't work. There's always this little something that keeps you from being ordinary. This part, I think this might be one of my favorite parts in the novel too. Well, the books is my favorite part, but this is, yeah, there's a lot of passages of him like seeing other people do something, or like have expressions on their face, the little habits that they have. I'm sorry for the metro outside. And then him analyzing that and concluding that it's a certain type of emotion that they're expressing with those actions and with their faces. Because there was a smile on his face, except he didn't look me in the eye. Mom told me that this meant anxiety. He asked the price, pushing the book towards me. So it's like completely analyzing someone's demeanor basically. And I mean like, okay, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that, okay, it must be this. And then reacting in a way that fits that emotion that the other person is feeling and expressing. I'm just so intrigued. So I'm gonna say one more thing. Within the second part of the book, it's all about the relationship that he has with that boy and like how that evolves and the differences between them. And then at the end, it's basically stated like, we couldn't possibly resemble each other. I was too numb, and Gon didn't admit he was vulnerable. He just pretended to be strong. People said there was no way to understand him. I didn't agree with them. It's just that nobody ever tried to see through him. Well, nobody cares anymore. They don't take the time to get to know someone, and he kind of did, because he was interested in him. Like the main character was interested in that boy, and he wanted to understand him because his emotions were clear but also conflicting, and therefore very difficult to understand. So it's like the best way to practice for this main character, just like the best way to practice his emotions, and to not only practice his emotions but practice his understanding of other people. And this guy has suffered a lot of loss in his life and has had a very difficult childhood, but then here it comes back to the main character's own family again. It's about like his mom. He says, "I remember mom clutching my hand when I used to take walks. She never let go of my hand. Sometimes when I tried to wriggle my hand free because she gripped it so hard, she would shoot me a look, telling me to hold on tight. She said families walk hand in hand. Granny would hold my other hand. I have never been abandoned by anyone. Even though my brain was a mess, what kept my soul whole was the warmth of the hands holding mine on both sides." Again, I love that so much, because he's been called a robot multiple times and people kind of see him as one because he doesn't have the emotions. But then with this, he realizes and expresses that he does have a soul, and that those things are separate from each other. Like, you can be a machine, but you don't have emotions, but you also don't have the soul, you don't have the heart, you don't have the feelings. And this guy has the feelings, he has the soul, he just doesn't have the things connecting the two to each other. But he knows that he's protected and like held and like loved and cared for, and he appreciates that. I can keep talking about this. I won't. I've been talking for 16 minutes. I need to read like 70 pages still. I think I'm gonna finish it today. So I don't know if you still need to read this book at this point, because I've been spoiling literally everything. That was my update. Can't talk anymore. Okay, bye. God, I am so tired because I went to the Amsterdam Canal Pride Parade today. Yeah, just such a fun time. And I finished my book on the way here. I filmed that on the train and I absolutely love it. Again, I have it in my bag, especially the end too. So in the end, right, a kind of traumatic event happens to him. Like, he realizes that he has a friend. Also, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but like his feelings kind of develop and you get a little bit of a sneak peek when he starts to have a crush on this girl. And like, he has this friend slash ex bully basically that he's taken an interest in, and then he also takes an interest in this girl, and he says that she's basically the complete opposite of Gone, so that other guy. And like, he doesn't understand what is happening. Like, she touches him and like it kind of burns, and he's like, what the fuck is this? And then his guardian, that's the only person he can actually really talk to, and he's like, what is happening to me? I don't understand. And he's like, you have a crush? So there's like a development in his feelings. In the end, he basically starts to develop like actual emotions, or like his understandings of the emotions, they become more clear. So it was kind of like they were hidden and then some sort of lock opened and they flow in at the end, which I think it's such a beautiful thing. I think it's a great book. I feel like this is something anybody can enjoy. The writing style is really easy to understand, but it's still gripping. Like, it's easy, but it's beautiful. I underlined so many things. There were so many sentences and like passages that were so beautiful. Read it, explore for yourself, even though I've spoiled the entire thing, especially the things with the books. Oh my god, I loved that. Give me more things, like give me more books about books. Like I said, read it, and that's it.